Have you ever felt that the more you try to control everything, the more chaotic life becomes? You plan meticulously, race against time, try to force everything into the mold you desire. But then what? Each piece seems to fall apart right before your eyes. The tighter you grip, the more things slip away. But what if I told you that real strength doesn't lie in control, but in calmness? In this video, you will discover 11 profound lessons from Stoicism. Lessons that not only help you remain calm in the midst of storms, but also turn that calmness into your greatest advantage in life. These are not just theoretical advice or hollow inspirational quotes. These are practical strategies tested over centuries by Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca. And even today they still hold value, still have the power to change the way you think, feel, and act. Are you ready? Ready to learn how to stay calm and use that calmness as a lever to lead you to success? Before we get to those 11 lessons, let me tell you a story. A true story, unembellished, unfictionalized. A story of resilience, endurance, and most importantly, the power of calmness. The central figure of this story is James Stockdale, a US Navy pilot. A man thoroughly trained to always maintain control over the aircraft, the mission, his decisions, and even his survival in every second in the air. But then, on a fateful day during the Vietnam War, everything changed in an instant. His plane was shot down. No time to think, no chance to weigh options. Only the brutal impact, the howling wind in his ears, and the free fall through the sky. He deployed his parachute, and in that very moment, he knew the worst was coming, because he wasn't falling into friendly territory. No, he was falling straight into enemy hands. And from that moment on, a brutal chapter of his life began. They captured him, beat him mercilessly, dragged him like a lifeless object fallen from the sky, and then locked him in a prisoner of war camp. But that was only the beginning. They shackled him, tortured him physically and mentally, kept him in isolation days on end with no contact with anyone. Not just a few days, not just a few weeks, but 7 years. 7 years locked in a small cell. Can you imagine that? Not knowing if you'd see sunlight again tomorrow. Not knowing if closing your eyes at night would be the last time. No words of comfort, no hope from the outside world. Many couldn't endure it. They collapsed. They lost themselves. Fear consumed their minds like waves swallowing a fragile ship. But not James. Not because he was stronger than others. Not because he was tougher. But because he possessed an invisible weapon that the enemy could never take. Control of his mind. James was not just a soldier. He was also a student of Stoic philosophy. And during those endless days in captivity, he recalled the teachings of Epictetus. It is not circumstances themselves that cause us suffering, but how we view those circumstances. He could not control being captured, tortured, or isolated, but he could control how he responded to all of it. They could beat him, but they could not defeat him. They could lock him up, but they could not imprison his mind. And so, instead of letting himself slip into the abyss of despair, James did something extraordinary. He stood up in silence. He became the secret leader of the other prisoners. He devised a coded communication system to help the captives feel less alone. He taught them how to resist mentally, how to keep their minds strong, how not to let the enemy break them from within. What enabled James to do all of that? Not muscles, not weapons, but calmness. Calmness in pain, calmness in hopelessness, calmness even when the most terrifying things were happening. And that is why he survived. Not just survived, but lived with dignity. James Stockdale's story is not just a chapter of courage. It is a powerful reminder that in any circumstance, even the darkest, you can still choose to remain calm. And from that calmness, you can create a strength that no one can break. We have just emerged from an inspiring story about James Stockdale, who survived 7 years of hell thanks to the power of calmness. But that story is not just to admire. It is to remind us that no matter the situation, you can always control one thing: your response. When the enemy tried to crush James with every brutal form of torture, he did not let himself be swept away by the cruelty. Instead, he silently reminded himself over and over, "This does not define me. I am stronger than this." A simple phrase, but it was the rope that kept him from falling into the abyss. And he was right. James survived. When he was finally freed after 7 years of captivity, someone asked him, "How did you endure those terrible years?" His answer was unexpectedly short. "I accepted reality, but I never lost faith in my ability to overcome." You see, that was not blind optimism. It was a clear awareness accepting what cannot be changed, but never letting go of the one thing he still had: his spirit. James understood something that very few of us truly grasp. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. And that was the key that helped him not only survive, but also preserve his dignity, his sanity, and his self-respect in a situation where there seemed to be nothing left to hold on to. So be honest with yourself. Today, what is stealing your calmness? A conflict at work? An argument with a loved one? A bad day that makes you want to give up? Are you feeling like everything is spinning out of control, even though you've tried your hardest? If James Stockdale could find mental strength in the middle of a 7-year nightmare, then you can also find an anchor within yourself. No matter how difficult your situation is, you can always control one thing: your response. And in the next part of this video, I will show you how to do just that step by step, through practical lessons from Stoic philosophy. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become an exclusive member to receive special perks. And please share with us in the comments below. What does staying calm in a chaotic world mean to you? Or simply type, "I am a Stoic." We'd love to hear from you and walk this journey of growth together. Remember this: calmness is the most powerful weapon you have. Imagine you are a Formula One driver, hands gripping the steering wheel, engine roaring beneath your feet. The road ahead is like a blazing desert paved in asphalt. You're on the final stretch, just seconds away from the finish line. Suddenly, a sharp corner appears. The car loses traction. The steering wheel goes light, as if slipping from your hands. You feel like you're losing control, and the world begins to spin. This is the defining moment. You have two choices. The first choice: panic. React impulsively. Jerk the wheel out of emotion. And as a result, you fly off the track, skid into the gravel, and are eliminated. The second choice: stay calm. Feel the car sliding. Don't let despair take over your mind. Ease off the throttle. Recalculate. Adjust at the right moment. And regain control at the decisive point. That's what sets the best drivers in the world apart. Not speed, not recklessness, but the ability to keep a cool head when everything feels out of control. They don't fight the corner, they understand it, and they turn it into an advantage. Life is just like that racetrack. No one can avoid sudden turns. No one is immune to hardship, to loss, to moments of wanting to give up. But the wise don't resist them. They learn to observe, to feel, and to respond clearly and with control. If you observe truly successful people, you'll notice one thing in common. It's not that they never face crises. It's not that their lives are perfect. It's that when the world seems to be turning against them, they still stay on course. They don't lose control. They don't let fear dictate their actions. Author Ryan Holiday, who wrote The Obstacle is the Way, calls this a strategic advantage. He once said, "True power lies not in speed or aggression, but in the ability to stay calm when everything seems to fall apart." And this is not some cheap motivational slogan. No, it is a psychological and strategic truth that has been proven. A calm mind makes better decisions. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, understood this centuries ago. He once said, "If you are disturbed by something external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment of it." Today, neuroscience has clearly confirmed this. When we react impulsively, the part of the brain in charge is the amygdala, which governs intense emotions like fear, anger, and frustration. But when we remain calm, we activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, evaluation, and making smarter decisions. A study from the Institute of Cognitive Neuroscience in London showed that people who train themselves to stay calm under pressure not only experience less stress, but also achieve better long-term outcomes. They don't act on emotional impulse, but follow a clear and intentional strategy. I know what you're thinking. That sounds great, but how do you actually apply it to everyday life? Because it's easy to talk about calmness when you're watching a video or reading a book. The real challenge comes when life hits hard, when the unexpected corner shows up and you feel like you're about to lose control. That's exactly why I want to share with you 2 simple but effective strategies to train your mind starting today. The first strategy is the observation technique. Imagine that you are not the one experiencing the situation, but a spectator watching a movie. What would you advise the main character to do in that situation? This exercise helps you separate yourself from emotions and think more objectively, thereby allowing you to view the problem more clearly and wisely. And this is the strategy that will truly help you succeed. Do not wait until a crisis happens to start practicing. Begin cultivating calmness every day in the simplest way. For example, imagine you return from the supermarket and start unloading the groceries into the car when suddenly the egg tray performs a somersault and crashes onto the floor. A small disaster. Your first reaction might be to scream, curse gravity, and ask yourself, why does life hate me like this? But that very moment is your test. If something so small can steal your calmness, then what do you think will happen when you face a truly serious problem? If you cannot control your mind in these minor moments, you will not be able to do it when a real challenge comes. Calmness does not naturally appear at the exact moment you need it most. It is a muscle, and you must train it daily. So ask yourself, do you really want to keep reacting like an inexperienced racer who loses control at the very first turn? If calmness makes you stronger, why let the world push you off the racetrack of life? Strategy 2. Are you really in control of everything? Have you ever had a day when nothing went according to plan? You wake up full of energy, ready for a great day. Everything is scheduled in detail. Finish an important project, get in a workout, prepare a special dinner. Nothing could go wrong, or so you think. Then suddenly, everything collapses. Your boss gives you an urgent task that was never in the plan. The person you were supposed to meet cancels at the last minute. You call someone for advice, only to hear something that ruins your mood. Frustration creeps into everything that doesn't go your way, and it becomes almost unbearable. And this is when the real problem begins. It's not just that we want to control life, we also want to control other people. We want people to react the way we think they should, want plans to go exactly as designed, want everything to be perfect. Be honest with yourself. How many times has this happened to you? How many times have you tried to change someone so they would understand your reasoning, to convince them to do things your way? You see, we often waste so much precious energy on things beyond our control. But what Marcus Aurelius and Stoic philosophy remind us is this. Instead of trying to control what cannot be controlled, focus on how you respond to it. That is where real strength lies. Maybe you've tried to help a close friend who keeps making the same mistake, or tried to convince your partner to see things from your perspective. But nothing changes. Maybe you wish your parents would stop worrying too much about you and just understand the way you think. But when they don't, you feel angry, frustrated, like everything is falling apart. The issue doesn't lie in the situation itself, but in your attachment to the belief that you can control everything. Naval Ravikant, a well-known investor and entrepreneur, once explained this in a talk on happiness and personal success. He said that suffering comes from the desire to control things that cannot be controlled. Many people spend their entire lives trying to force outcomes, manipulate circumstances, or change others. But in reality, the key is to let go and focus only on what's within your control. And he's absolutely right. Because the more you try to force everything, the more you resist reality. And the result is that you build up more anxiety, disappointment, and stress. But this idea doesn't just come from modern thinkers. Over 2,000 years ago, the philosopher Epictetus said the same thing. There are things that belong to us, and things that do not. Only those who cling to what cannot be controlled will suffer. Not only ancient philosophy, but modern science also supports this view. A study by Stanford University analyzed how uncertainty affects emotional states. They divided participants into two situations. The first group was given a task where they had full control over the outcome. The second group had to complete a Beaujeu task whose result depended on external factors beyond their control. They then measured stress levels and adaptability in each person. The results were surprising. Those who accepted uncertainty had lower levels of anxiety, better adaptability, and more emotional stability. Meanwhile, those who clung to control felt constantly frustrated and exhausted. Now tell me honestly, which group do you belong to? Are you the type who accepts what cannot be changed and focuses on what can? Or are you still fighting against the current, hoping the wind will blow in the direction you want? If you want to learn how to live without letting every obstacle knock you off balance to stay steady on your path to success, I have 2 challenges for you. The first challenge is the "so what" challenge. Next time something doesn't go according to plan, ask yourself, so what? Will this still matter in 5 years? You'll be surprised to realize how often our stress and anxiety come from things we won't even remember in a few months. And now, the second challenge, and to be honest, I almost hesitate to say it, because I know your first reaction might be, "No way!" But trust me, this could change your life. Let's call it controlled chaos. 1 day a week, don't schedule everything. Allow yourself to go with the flow, without being bound by rigid expectations. You'll be amazed at how your mind adapts to freedom and uncertainty. In fact, by letting go of control, you might find yourself gaining it back more powerfully than ever. Life isn't a straight highway where everything follows the map you drew. It's more like sailing across a vast ocean, where waves, storms, and sudden course changes are inevitable. But you can learn to adjust your sails, let go of what doesn't belong to you, and focus on the only thing you truly control: your decisions, your attitude, and your response to each situation. And that is where true success lives, not in controlling everything, but in your ability to adapt with clarity and master what is actually in your hands. Before you start complaining about life, take a moment to be grateful for what you already have. Dear friend, your brain is like a garden. What you plant in it is what will grow. If each day you water that garden with stress, complaints, and negativity, all you'll have is a dry, thorny patch of land where no flower can bloom. This is not just a beautiful metaphor, it's a truth backed by science. A group of scientists at the University of California, Berkeley, conducted an interesting experiment to test this. They divided participants into 2 groups and gave each group a simple task. The first group was asked to write down 3 things they were grateful for every night, even if they were very small. The second group could write about anything they wanted, with no specific guidelines. A few weeks went by, and the researchers began to measure the differences. And the results were astounding. Those who practiced daily gratitude showed increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for calmness, decision-making, and emotional stability. In a way, their brains were being trained to focus on the positive and handle stress more effectively. As for the second group, who didn't practice gratitude, their brains remained in their old patterns. Their garden remained dry and full of thorns. Have you seen the power of gratitude yet? It might sound simple, even trivial, but believe me, from personal experience, I know it's anything but small. I once thought writing down 3 things I was grateful for each day was pointless. But one day, I decided to try. I started listing 3 things I was thankful for every morning, and over time, my mindset began to shift. I realized the truth in the words of Seneca, the renowned Stoic philosopher, spoken centuries ago. It is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratitude that makes us happy. Think about this. Today is Monday. You open your eyes and immediately think you need a break, that everything would be easier if you had a different job, a different home, a different life. As you wash your face, your mind repeats things like, if I had more money, if I had more time, if things were easier, then I could finally be at peace. But have you realized it's never enough? Because the truth is, no matter how much you achieve, there will always be something else to want, something else to chase, something you feel is still missing. And among all of that, the only thing you truly lose is the peace in your own mind. So if a simple habit like recognizing the good around you can actually strengthen your mind and help you stay calm in difficult moments, why not start today? First, say thank you out loud each morning as soon as you open your eyes. But do it intentionally. Imagine yourself sitting up, stretching, and saying with full energy, "Thank you." It might feel silly at first, but try it. Because the moment you start your day with gratitude, your brain shifts focus. Instead of thinking about what's missing, it starts noticing what's already there. Second, write down 3 good things before going to sleep. Don't just repeat the same things every night. Look for small details, maybe an unexpectedly good cup of coffee, a shared laugh with your partner, or a quiet moment in the middle of a busy day. Because if you don't train your mind to see the good, it will only see the bad. And finally, focus on what you have, not what you lack. Life is not an endless wish list you're trying to check off item by item. If you don't appreciate what you have now, you won't appreciate it even when you have twice as much. The peace you seek, clarity you need, and the success you want don't lie in what you don't have. They lie in how you choose to see your life. Etch this truth into your mind. Complaining changes nothing, but gratitude changes everything. Positive thoughts can attract good things to your life, but only if you start planting them in the garden of your mind today. Let me tell you a story about a close friend of mine. A few months ago, he received news that completely changed his life. A serious health issue. You know the kind of news that can flip your entire world upside down in a heartbeat. Suddenly, everything became uncertain hospital visits, medical tests, and an overwhelming sense of fear. But the worst part was that his own mind turned against him. Every morning he woke up weighed down by thoughts like, what if things get worse? What if I never recover? Why is this happening to me? With those thoughts, each day felt like an endless tunnel with no way out. He felt stuck in the dark, helpless and lost. Until one day, during a long wait at the hospital, he happened to overhear something that woke him up, a talk by Tony Robbins, the well-known motivational coach. He said a simple but powerful sentence: "The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life." My friend kept thinking about that quote. He realized he had heard something similar before. And then he began to dig deeper. Surprisingly, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher from nearly 2,000 years ago, once said something almost identical. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. That was the moment he realized an important truth. He could not control his illness, but he could control how he faced it. From then on, He decided to make a small but meaningful change. Each morning before getting out of bed, he forced himself to think of one positive thing, something to look forward to, no matter how small. Today, I will find something that makes me laugh. Today, I will enjoy every moment with my family. Today, I will be grateful for what I have. Interestingly, his health condition did not change, but his way of facing life changed completely. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful and wise rulers in history, understood that his greatest battle was not against the outside world, but against his own thoughts. He did not focus on the problem, but on the solution. He did not obsess over what might go wrong, but on how to respond to whatever came his way. That was the key that helped him stay strong in chaos, and it could be your key too. Now be honest with me, how are you using your mind? Are you programming it to attract the best things? Or are you filling it with fear and worry that hold you back? First, learn to change how you interpret negative thoughts. Whenever you catch yourself saying, "This is a disaster," or "I can't," take this, stop immediately, and reframe it as, "This is a challenge, but I can learn something from it. It may not be easy, but I will find a way." This isn't self-deception. It's training yourself to see solutions instead of being trapped in problems. Second, create distance from those who only see the negative. Negativity is contagious. If you spend all day surrounded by dramatic complaints and people who are always finding reasons to give up, you'll start thinking that way too. Instead, seek out those who push you forward, those who talk about possibilities instead of limitations. Third, visualize a positive outcome before starting your day. Don't confuse this with wishful thinking. This is about imagining how you will handle situations calmly, effectively, and with clarity. Visualize how you want to feel and how you might respond to anything that happens. Because when your mind is trained to succeed in advance, doing it in real life becomes much easier. In the end, everything depends on one thing. Your mind is the filter through which you see reality. If you train yourself to think positively, you will attract opportunities, make better decisions, and become the best version of yourself. Your attention is what shapes your reality. So tell me, when you walk down the street, what do you focus on? Do you notice the rush of people, the traffic, the noise, and the problems around you? Or do you pay attention to the small positive things, the sunlight hitting buildings, the rustle of wind through trees, or a sudden smile from a passerby? Thing is clear. Reality is the same for everyone. But how you experience it depends entirely on where you place your attention. It's like the famous illustration of the bus two people on the same journey. One looks out at a beautiful landscape. The other stares in misery at a rock beside his feet. The difference is not in the road, but in the side they chose to sit on. Life is the same. If you only focus on the grey areas, the flaws, the things that are missing, your world will look like a cold, rigid stone wall. But if you turn your head and look the other way, you'll see the scenery was always beautiful. Will Smith once said in an interview, "If you want success, happiness, or to achieve any goal, you have to learn how to ignore distractions and focus only on what truly matters." And that was his key to success. Not luck, but knowing where to direct his energy. Your attention is like an Instagram filter. Depending on which filter you choose, the picture you see completely changes. If your filter is full of complaints, worries, and problems, everything around you will appear dark and negative. But if you learn to change the filter, if you choose to focus on what's within your control and what you can make use of, your entire world will shift. Now, be honest with me. Where has your attention been lately? Try a small exercise. Think of something that has made you feel anxious or upset in the past few days. Maybe it was someone's comment, a problem at work, or something you saw on social media. How did it make you feel? Now imagine that instead of focusing on that, you shifted your attention to something positive, something within your control, maybe a small achievement during the day, a peaceful moment, or a pleasant conversation. Do you think your mental state would be very different? If you want to regain your calm and focus on what truly leads to success, the first step is to build a mental diet. Just like you watch what you eat, you should also watch what you feed your mind. Reduce the amount of negative news you consume daily. Filter the content you follow on social media. Ask yourself, is what I'm watching really adding value to my life, or is it just making me more drained? Your mind is like a garden. What you water is what will grow. Second, perform a reset when you find yourself stuck in negative thought loops. Shift your focus deliberately. Go for a walk, take deep breaths, observe your surroundings, and look for something different to concentrate on. If your mind is filled with worry, change the question. Instead of thinking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Third, surround yourself with people who reinforce what you want to attract into your life. If you spend time with people who only complain, view everything negatively, and never look for solutions, you'll quickly absorb their mindset and begin thinking the same way. Instead, seek out people who inspire you, challenge you to grow, and help you stay focused on the positive. Your attention is a powerful tool. It doesn't just shape how you see the world, it determines how you feel and how you respond to everything around you. Focus on what truly matters. As Epictetus once said, "Where your attention goes, there is your soul." Because in the end, what you focus on becomes what you experience. If you train your attention to focus on what makes you stronger, you'll become more resilient, make better decisions, and stay calm in any situation. 6. If you don't rest, your mind will stop working. How many times have you forced yourself to keep going, even when you were completely exhausted? You sit in front of your computer trying to concentrate, but your mind feels like a static-filled TV screen. You read the same sentence over and over, and nothing sinks in. You drink coffee, then another cup, but still can't think clearly. And worst of all, instead of accepting that you need rest, you push yourself harder. Do you really think that will help you do better? Of course not. You just end up making more mistakes and feeling worse. Here's a truth few people talk about. Rest is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Look at your phone. What happens if you use it all day without recharging? It shuts down. No amount of shaking, tapping, or shouting will turn it back on until you give it what it needs: energy and rest. So why treat your brain any differently? The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Seneca made it clear, even the sharpest sword must rest to keep its edge. What good is a perfect weapon if you use it until it's worn down? What's the value of a brilliant mind if you exhaust it to the point where it can't think clearly anymore? Seneca took time to reflect, to be silent, and to recover. He didn't see it as wasted time. He saw it as a strategy to come back stronger. Today, neuroscience confirms this. Rest improves memory, learning ability, and self-control. And to make this sound less like a dry lecture, let me put it simply. Your brain is like a whiteboard. Every day, you write on it all your tasks, decisions, and thoughts. But if you never erase anything, the board gets cluttered, messy, and overwhelming. Sleep is what clears the board. It makes space for new ideas, new lessons, and clearer decisions. Now you can see why rest is so important, can't you? I know. You might be thinking, okay, but my life is too chaotic to rest properly. Don't worry. Here are 3 strategies you can start using today to bring more calm into your life. First strategy: reduce screen time before bed. Yes, I know it sounds cliché, but it makes perfect sense. The blue light from your phone tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. So, if you go to bed while watching videos, reading the news, or scrolling through social media, don't expect your mind to switch off right away. Second strategy: create a nighttime routine for yourself. This doesn't need to be complicated. You can read a few pages of a book, write a little, or simply sit in silence and let your body relax. The important thing is to signal to your brain that it's time to disconnect and rest. Third strategy: listen to your body. If you feel the need to rest, do so. Rest is not a sign of weakness. It's a strategy. An athlete does not train continuously because they know their performance depends on recovery time. You are the athlete of your own life. Trust me, resting is not a waste of time. It's recharging your energy so you can be stronger tomorrow. Because if you truly want success, you don't need more hours of aimless work. You need more clarity, focus, and calm. Now, imagine Marcus Aurelius and Seneca waking up in the 21st century. Marcus Aurelius opens his eyes. The first thing he does is grab his phone. He checks notifications, sees unread emails from the Senate, someone on Twitter criticizing his latest decree, and the latest news covering trouble at the empire's border. He sighs, reluctantly gets up. While pouring coffee, he begins to think about how exhausting the day will be. In contrast, Seneca wakes up calmly. Before moving, he takes a deep breath and asks himself, "How do I want today to be?" He gets up without rushing, stretches, drinks water, and takes out his notebook to write down a few reflections. He doesn't check his phone immediately, but goes for a walk, feeling the fresh air on his face. One person begins the day dragged by circumstances, while the other takes control of their life. So, which one are you like in the morning? Many people start the day as if they are running on autopilot. They wake up, check their phone, and fill their minds with information, worrying before even getting out of bed. They don't prepare their minds, don't direct their focus, but just dive into a day they can't control. But imagine what would happen if, instead of reacting to everything that comes your way, you choose to start the day your way. Science now confirms that this is not just philosophy. Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, an expert in health and wellness, explains that a clear morning routine is a key factor in managing stress and maintaining calm. His research shows that when people start their day intentionally, whether by reading, meditating, or simply avoiding distractions, levels of anxiety decrease and focus increases. So now, be honest with me. How do you start your day? To make sure this is not just theory, do something different today. Imagine today is your turning point. I will guide you through an ideal morning so you can feel in control as you start your day. When you open your eyes, remember not to touch your phone for the first 30 minutes. Give your brain a little time to rest before throwing messages, news, and social media at it. So what will you do instead? Do something that makes you feel you're in control of the new day. It may be very small, but it should give you the feeling that you've already won the day. Make your bed, stretch, prepare a quiet breakfast. Meditate for a minute. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do it mindfully. Finally, take a moment to imagine the kind of day you want to have. Don't let the day control you. Take control of it. Imagine how you want to react to challenges, how you want to feel, what you want to achieve. And if you don't know how to train your mind to visualize clearly, stay tuned, because soon you'll discover why this skill can change everything. So my friend, tell me, how will you start your morning from now on? Share in the comments and make it a reality. This community is here to support you on your journey. 8. What you visualize is what you build. My friend, has this ever happened to you? You decide you want to buy a car. Start researching models, thinking about the color, the details, imagining yourself behind the wheel. Then suddenly, you begin to see that car everywhere on the road, in advertisements, in the supermarket parking lot. It feels like the universe is sending you signs, right? But it's not magic. It's your brain. When you focus your attention on something, your mind begins to recognize it more easily, not because it naturally appears, but because you've activated the right filter. And this doesn't just happen with cars, it happens with everything in life. Epictetus summarized this in one sentence: what you nurture in your mind will become your reality. If you spend the whole day thinking about problems, about what you're lacking, about how difficult everything is, that's exactly what you'll see everywhere. But if you start focusing on progress and opportunities, your mind will start working to find them. Because here's the secret: your brain cannot tell the difference between what you clearly imagine and what you actually experience. Roxy Nafusi, a visualization expert, explains that visualizing your day clearly is not just a mental exercise, but a practical method to train your brain for success. Want to try it? Close your eyes and imagine your ideal home. Don't just think about it, experience it mentally. What color are the walls? How does the light come through the windows? What does it smell like? What music is playing in the background? How does it feel to walk through that house? Now, imagine everything you need to do to achieve that, not as a distant dream, but as a practical path. Visualize every step, the decisions, the small daily victories that bring you closer to your goal. Does that make the goal feel more real? Good. Because the clearer you see it in your mind, the easier it is to find the path to get there. So how can you use visualization to stay calm and achieve success? First, create a mental script for your goal. Simply saying, "I want to improve" or "I want to succeed" is not enough. Visualize the details. If your goal is to become more confident, Imagine yourself in a situation that requires that confidence. How will you feel? What will you say? How will you behave? Visualize a specific scenario where you act with confidence. If you want a successful business, imagine a day working inside it from your morning coffee to the final meeting of the day. Your brain needs a clear image of where to go and what to do next. Second, surround yourself with images and stimuli that reinforce your vision. Have you noticed that athletes often cover their walls with motivational quotes and images of their idols? It's not a coincidence. Your surroundings have a huge impact on how you think. So take advantage of this. Place reminders of your goals in places where you'll see them often. Change your phone wallpaper to something inspiring. Read things that reinforce a positive mindset and calmness. Because to know where you're going and to succeed, it's not about luck. It's about knowing what you want and taking purposeful steps, one at a time. 9. Breathe and regain control of the game unfolding. Imagine the heavy air around a poker table. The players observe their cards, but true experts don't look at the cards. They look at their opponents. In poker, the winner is not always the one with the best hand, but the one who knows how to play. The newbie easily exposes their emotions through every breath, every anxious movement, every drop of sweat on their brow. But the professional, they don't blink, they don't show impatience, they don't let anyone read their thoughts, because they know that in poker, just like in life, the person who loses control is the one who loses the game. Now, replace the cards with words. The table becomes a real argument. Someone provokes you, trying to pull you into their emotional game. If you fall into the trap, reacting thoughtlessly, exploding instinctively, then you've already lost. But if you stay calm, breathe before you act, choose your response instead of surrendering to your emotions, you're in control. Imagine you're in an argument. Your heart is racing, your blood is boiling, words are piled up in your throat, waiting to burst out. You feel attacked, misunderstood, and every part of you is screaming, react, defend yourself, respond, don't stay silent. But wait, stop. This is the moment that determines everything. You can explode and say the first thing that comes to your mind. Or you can do what the Stoics mastered. Stay calm and don't let your emotions take over. This doesn't just help you avoid embarrassment in a fight. It's the difference between being stuck in impulsive reactions or taking control of your life and moving closer to success. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every day. If not, his empire would have collapsed long ago. That's why he said, be calm, but resolute, cheerful, but firm. That's the person who lives by reason in everything, and that's the key. Your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. It all depends on whether you control it or let it control you. And in moments of tension, what's the first thing you should do? Take control of your breath. It may sound simple, but listen closely. Whoever cannot control their breath cannot control their mind, and whoever cannot control their mind cannot control their life. So, the next time you feel like you're about to lose control, try using the following tips to stay calm. First, use the 4 to 7 8 technique, which is very simple. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold the breath for 7 seconds, then exhale slowly for 8 seconds. Why does it work? because it forces your body to relax, like pressing the reset button for your nervous system. Second, have a little empathy. If someone gets angry or irritable with you, it might not be because of what you just said, but because of something deeper that you don't see. Maybe they're having a bad day, a tough life, or simply don't know how to handle their thoughts and emotions. And this is your advantage. You have the power to decide whether or not to enter their chaos. Because in the end, the person yelling is the loser, and the one who stays calm is the winner. My friend, remember this. When life pressures, you don't react immediately. Breathe first, then decide how to act. True success doesn't belong to those who let their first instinct take over, but to those who know how to wait, think, and act with precision. 10. Find stillness to find the answers. Think about this. You open your eyes, and before you even get out of bed, your phone is in your hand. Emails, social media notifications keep popping up. You step outside, car horns blare, disconnected conversations, music blaring from all directions. You return home, turn on the TV, check more messages, filling every moment with noise. And without realizing it, your life has become a whirlwind, where silence never has a place. Just thinking about that is overwhelming, right? Do you know why you do this? Because you don't know how to be in silence. It makes you scared, uncomfortable, so much so that you have to fill every second with noise. But here's the truth you may not want to hear. Silence is not the enemy. It's the gateway to another world, one where answers don't come from the outside, but from within you. If you don't dare walk through that gate, you can't imagine what you're missing. Just like in the movie Eat, Pray, Love, the main character gets stuck in a life she no longer finds fulfilling. She decides to leave everything behind and start a journey to find herself. But she doesn't do it in chaos. She does it in silence. At a monastery in India, she faces her biggest challenge, being alone with her own thoughts. It's not easy. Her mind screams, anxiety spikes, and she wants to run. But then, when the external noise settles, she starts to hear what she truly needs. It's in the silence that she finds the answer she's been searching for. Not because someone told her, but because, finally, she could hear her own voice. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Seneca once said that we often suffer more from the noise in our minds than the noise from the outside. We worry about things that haven't happened, replay past mistakes, and fill our heads with unnecessary thoughts, getting stuck in a constant mental storm. But anyone who learns to find peace in silence also learns to stay calm in any circumstance. Science has proven this as well. A study from Duke University shows that when you spend time in silence, a miracle happens in your brain. Your brain doesn't shut off or go into standby mode. On the contrary, it becomes more active. Imagine your mind searching for something in a messy room. You look left, you look right, rummaging through everything, opening this drawer, that drawer. But the more you search, the less you find. Everything becomes a mess. Then you stop, take a deep breath, tidy up a bit, and suddenly, what you've been looking for appears right in front of you when you least expect it. This activates a neural system called the default mode network, a system that helps you connect ideas, solve problems, and find clarity. It's as if your mind, when not distracted, begins to clean up, reorganize thoughts, and stitch together answers that you once thought were out of reach. So, if your mind is always like a storm and you can't find the answers, what can you do? First, disconnect for 30 minutes each day. No screens, no chatting, just silence. You can do this in the morning, before bed, or whenever you allow yourself. Second, take a walk in silence. No music, no podcasts, just you and your thoughts. At first, it might be uncomfortable, but over time, you'll realize that's the space where ideas and solutions emerge, things you hadn't seen before. Third, write down whatever comes up during these moments of silence, your thoughts, reflections, doubts. Writing them down helps you clarify things and recognize patterns in your thinking. Because this is very clear. If you can't stand being alone with your thoughts, then who else would want that? Silence is not the enemy. It's the tool you need to calm your mind and guide you towards success. My friend, if you really want to stay calm and achieve success, there's one more thing you can't overlook, a detail that many people often ignore, but makes all the difference between an overloaded mind and a mind in control. Are you ready to explore that? 11. Use your hands to calm your mind. Let me tell you the story of a man who couldn't sit still, not because he lacked patience, but because his mind was full of questions. Just observing the world wasn't enough for him. He needed to understand it, touch it, take it apart, and put it back together. He drew constantly, designed machines that never existed, studied anatomy, and wrote tirelessly. But he didn't do this just out of curiosity. He knew his mind worked best when his hands were busy. When he felt stuck, he drew. When his thoughts became chaotic, he took out paper and rearranged everything with images. When words no longer sufficed, he let action speak, and that was his secret. You see, busy hands help calm your mind. Physical action connects you to reality and helps reduce the noise in your head. So, if you feel overwhelmed, don't hesitate to pick up a pen, draw, write, or do something with your hands. It's not just a solution for the mind, but also a step toward mastering your life. He didn't wait for clarity, he created it with his own hands. That man was Leonardo da Vinci. A genius, yes, but he was also the one who discovered something many still don't understand today. When the mind is overloaded, the solution is not to think more, but to act. So you, when stress takes over, when ideas pile up with no meaning, when worry paralyzes you, what do? Marcus Aurelius made it clear. Right action brings peace to the mind. Calm doesn't come from sitting still, waiting for the storm to pass, but from taking action. Imagine you're at work and everything is becoming chaotic. Emails piling up, phones ringing non-stop, someone urgently demanding something from you. You feel pressure in your chest, your mind racing as if it has to respond to everything at once. You want to stay calm, but can't. And the worst part is, you wish you were the kind of person who knows how to handle pressure, who maintains composure, who makes the right decisions without getting swept into the chaos. Because in the end, those are the people who move forward, the ones who succeed. But how do you do that when everything feels like it's burning around you? The answer is, your mind uses your hands. I know what you're thinking. My hands? That's absurd. Yes, I understand. It sounds too simple, but it really works. First, spend at least 10 minutes each day doing a hands-on activity. Drawing, handwriting, cooking, fixing something, gardening, anything. And no, I'm not saying you should suddenly sketch in your notebook in the middle of a chaotic office, but make it a habit, a moment in your day where you detach from the noise and give your mind a chance to reset. Second, eliminate distractions. Forget multitasking. Turn off notifications. Absolutely no background music with lyrics. Just you, your hands, and that activity. When your mind focuses on a single physical task, stress melts away without you even realizing it. Third, pay attention to how you feel afterward. You may not solve every problem, but I promise you will gain the clarity that you didn't have before. It's as if the storm in your head has calmed down, even just a little. When words aren't enough, let your hands speak. Sometimes the silence of a simple task speaks louder than 1,000 chaotic thoughts. So, tell me, my friend, what's the first thing you will do with your hands to soothe your mind? Feel free to share it in the comments. Peace is not just the absence of chaos, but the key to making better decisions, acting with clarity, and moving towards success without letting stress control you. Every day, you have the opportunity to train your mind to choose how to respond to what's around you and become the person who doesn't get swept up by the noise, but learns to navigate it. Don't wait for life to become easier or less chaotic. True transformation happens when you learn to find peace within challenges, when you decide to focus on what you can control and stop wasting energy on what you can't. If you've followed along this far, let us know in the comments. I choose peace to lead my success. That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are who've made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and like this video so you don't miss upcoming content. I also invite you to check out our playlist, right on the screen, filled with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click on it and let's continue moving forward together. See you in the next video. Stay healthy and keep nurturing your inner Stoic spirit.